and welcome to the first episode of Rubbish Reviews.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Gordon. Ollie Thomas?
Yeah. Alright, so today we're reviewing a film by John Erick Dowdle called As Above, So Below.
Really good movie.
Yeah. I wanted to see this movie whenever it was coming out in theaters, but I never got a chance to, and I kind of been like pushing it aside for some weird reason. There's a whole bunch of other crap that's been out that I've kind of looked over this movie for a while, but he finally had me sit down tonight, and I watched it finally, and it was definitely a lot better than I had like at first ascertained, like whenever I was watching the trailers for it, because remember whenever I first saw the trailers for it, it looked like another one of those found footage, like, shaky camera, Cloverfield looking things, which, don't get me wrong, there is some stuff in there that it's definitely like that.
That 2016 horror movies, and most modern horror movies, not all of them, and even the ones that are good, they have this issue where they kind of fall into the same routine.
This was Paranormal Activity and stuff like that.
Yeah, this was actually really, really good. It had similar routines, but it played it off in a way that was really good.
Yeah, the foreshadowing, it kept the movie fresh and it kept it interesting, which is definitely the point.
It had some foreshadowing that was kind of in your face, like you saw it and you're like, ah. And then there was other things that you blink and you miss it. They say something real quick or they show something real quick and you miss it, and then later you see it and it's still a cool scene. You can still see that scene without it. But I just rewatched it with him.
Yeah.
And there was a few scenes that I did miss, and I was like, oh my god. That makes it so much more, you know what I mean? It's a great piece, but knowing that little bit beforehand, great payoff.
Yeah, like this whole time that we were all watching the movie, he was like, I'm not going to tell you anything, man. Just keep watching.
And just watch the movie. Just watch the movie.
It was like, oh, dude, look at that. What's going on with that? And I was
just watch, man.
Shut up.
That is Mikey.
But I think, like, honestly, as far as it goes, very solid horror film. Like, it even, like, a supernatural kind of feel to it. And it's not, like, in-your-face supernatural, like, there was that one movie that we were looking forward to watching for the longest time. It was kind of like, I can't remember the name of it. It's, they were stuck in a mental asylum, and it was a found footage thing. I can't remember.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, the title will come to me eventually. If it doesn't, then...
We'll put it at the bottom of the video right here. It'll be some words with what the title is.
Yeah, I'll remember. Unless if I remember it, and if I remember it, it'll pop right back up. Because it usually does.
Real quick, we're going to do a spoiler warning because we are going to kind of do an overview. So if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want anything, ruined, pause. Go watch the movie, then watch us.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you're looking at a review for the movie, you probably watched it.
Alright.
So real quick, it was very allegorious of Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, which I was really interested in. That was one of the key points that he had told me going into this movie, like, about a week ago, whenever we were talking about it first. I had never known. You could never know from just watching the trailer for this that it had anything to do with Dante Alighieri's Inferno. But me growing up as a kid, like, that was one of the first books, weirdly enough. Yeah, I got weird looks from counselors and shit. That was like one of the first.
That's more your face, but
fuck you. So, that was one of the first books that I got like hardcore into, and I'm still super adamant about that. I love Dante's Inferno, but it also took pieces from like actual alchemy stuff, which was actually really cool. Like it had like Nicholas Flamel and parts of it,
yeah.
And the basicness of this is a hunt for the Philosopher's Stone. So it's kind of like Indiana Jones meets Tomb Raider meets...
It had a very mummy vibe.
Yeah.
It starts...
It was also that found footage, so it was like definitely like...
modern.
Yeah, modern horror film.
So it starts with our main girl...
Scarlet,
totally not looking at Cliff Notes. Scarlet. Sorry, I'm bad with names.
The Tomb Raider.
It starts with our girl Scarlet, and she's in Iran, and she's going to some facility. We're not entirely sure.
Oh, it's caves. She's going to go explore.
Yeah, but like, they had the lights. They were like blowing it up. It was kind of that's what they had the guards. Anyway, so this kind of cave system, but it's kind of a facility. There's alarms going off, all that. She's going through this back entrance in a man's house.
They literally, this guy pulled aside like a couch, and there's a hole in the wall.
Yeah, there's just a hole. You know, behind my couch. We move this couch. There's a hole in Narnia. Yeah. But so she crawls through that. They go in, and he's constantly, and it's really good at building the suspense because he's constantly, you can see the worry in this man's face, and he's just in the beginning of the movie, and he's like, we gotta get out of here, and she's like, no, we gotta look, and
she cracks a hole in this writing on the wall. Dude, it literally felt like Last Crusade. the
Last Crusade, yeah.
One of those things where they rub the little thing on it. It was literally a stone tablet with Aramaic on it, and they punched a hole through it, and she literally kicks the fucking thing down and goes through this hole in the wall.
There's this big black bull statue with a bunch of writing on it, and it's the rose key, and they even talk about how it's like the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah.
And what I really enjoyed is she takes the camera and she's scanning it, because she's got to get out of there, going to blow the place up. She's scanning it, and she goes over some parts twice, which... in the real world, if you're doing something, the place is coming down, but you need to be able to look at everything, you would probably scan it twice. So that was a very realistic. Sure. And then it kind of cuts to her being interviewed by Benji. I thought it was Benji, but I thought maybe I was missing.
Yeah, Benji is the cameraman for pretty much the whole movie.
She's interviewed by this guy Benji, who seems to be a good friend of hers. And he's interviewing her real quick, and you find out she's got a bunch of degrees. She knows Krav Maga, which doesn't really ever get brought up. But
it does get brought up because
she kicked the wall.
No, she kicked the shit out of those stone things later on in the movie.
Look, it's found footage. I thought she whacked him with the camera.
No, she straight up punches one of them.
But so you get to find out a little bit about her character and
the book that her father gave her.
Yeah. Anyway, so then she's like, I have all the stuff, but I don't speak Sanskrit. So they go and find her friend
George,
who's in this clock tower, and he's fixing a clock. His hobby is breaking into places and fixing things.
Yeah.
They even say, strange hobby. So they all get together, and they're going through the catacombs.
Wait a minute, is that like constructive destruction?
I don't know, dude. I've never heard of it. It's a cool thought, though. But so
what do they do whenever they catch you? Do they say thank you, but your ass is going to jail?
Well, like, take the Liberty Bell. If I snuck in and I welded that shut, that crack gives it more value.
Yeah, that's true.
But, Futurama reference. But, so they go through the catacombs, and they're, like, looking at the bones, and they're talking, and they're trying to find a spot in the map.
That map where, they were looking at the catacombs on top of it, and they found out that, like, they thought that there was no way that they could get down to that part of the catacombs.
Yeah.
But, like, he remembered that there were key points in history where the ground had swallowed itself whole, like, the crack and fell into the earth. And he remembered this place, and right where she said where it would be, this hole in the ground fell.
So they're going through the catacombs, and this guy, this random, like, kind of teenager is, like, sitting there. He's like, oh, you need the papillon. He get you in.
Tells him to go to this club and find papillon.
And they turn around because the guide's like, come on, and they look back and he's gone. So they go to the club, and as they're entering the club, Benji notices this woman who's like staring at him.
Yeah.
And he watches her walk by.
Really weird.
They go and they see Papillon. He's like, I don't want to. He
thinks that they're joking.
Yeah. With him. Until she mentions treasure. So then they go.
Because they've been going, like, they explain that they've been down in those tunnels, like, tons of times before, and they know that for a fact that there's nothing down there.
So they go to the secret entrance, get attacked by cops real quick, everyone rushes in. They start going through.
Oh yeah, you gotta remember that George was very apprehensive about not going with them underground.
Yeah.
He did not want to go with them, but because the cops rushed Papillon, he went underneath with them anyway.
His brother drowned in a cave in the past, and that's why he doesn't want to go underground. But anyway, they see some cultists. They squeeze through a spot. Like
no, the cultist, the fucking lady from earlier, when we were just talking about Benji saw the woman. One of the cultists, the lady that was singing to all the people that were under there, they all had like white, like dust paint on them.
Looked like
things across
Yolandi from the music video Fetty Fetty Boom Boom.
Yeah.
The white and red.
Basically. And that girl was the person that was leading the chanting for the people.
And so they crawl through a hole, and they find
very claustrophobic.
Yeah, very, very claustrophobic, very great tension.
They have to climb over like thousands of bones, which coincidentally have to be all femurs for some weird reason. But like you said, that's the boniest looking bone apparently.
You think doggy bone? That's usually.
Also, you forgot before they went over into that hole, there was the little entryway thing that she was like, "We should go through here. This is faster, right?" And they said, "No, that's evil. Don't go through there." A friend of mine that he called Le Taupe, the mole. They said that he used to live down in these catacombs, and he went through there once and never returned.
So they blocked it up.
Yeah. So they were like, "No, we're not going through there. We're going over this way because that way's evil."
So after they get through the wedge, which is a very tense scene, they see that same doorway.
And the whole wall had collapsed upon the bones that they were crawling on. So they were screwed in that point where they couldn't go back, so they had to go through that hole anyway.
So they're going through, they start hearing a phone ring, a piano, out in these catacombs deep underground. They find a piano, they play the piano, it's George's piano from when he was a kid, same broken key, and then Nagoop shows up, and he's just like
deadpan
weird,
face, eyes look really dark.
And he's like, you're looking for the way out, follow me. And they're like, this is weird. They follow him, and they start getting into they lose the dupe, and they get into these spots where there's like a hole, and they climb down the hole. And they do that a couple of times. Like go a line, go down a hole, go a line, go down a hole. And they get to this spot with water, and someone falls in the water, but it's like muffled.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, oh, are the cameras broken? Are the cameras broken?
No, but they start going like this.
They're slapping the wall.
And that's
what they're hearing. Yeah, it's really cool. And yeah, it was like a scene from Lost when they turned the key and moved the island. Everything shook and Zed.
Yeah, Zed's the happy-go-lucky.
It's such a
that did nothing wrong.
Name that didn't click with me. Zed sees this child real quickly. He sees it and
they walk past it. Mind you, he's not the only one that sees this child. There's a couple other people that see the child, but he recognized the child for some reason.
So they're going through, and they get to this area where you see this, not centurion, what's the word?
He's looking for a Templar guard.
Templar.
He's dressed in traditional Knights Templar.
Crusader.
Knights Templar. Knights Templar. It's the one with the big red cross across the chest. It is, at this point, we're believing that this is Nicholas Flamel. But his body...
Crusader. That's what the Knights of the Round Table had to find like people that were against.
Dude, that was my favorite Star Wars character, Darth Crusader. Yeah, but anyway, there's this guy laying there.
No, Jesus, you are your father.
He's sitting in full Knights Templar looking gear, and it's like Scarlet looks at him and she recognizes him. Basically, it's Nicholas Flamel, but he's been dead for 700 years. But he is not decomposed at all. He literally looks like he was just dead.
So they think it's a dead end, and she's like, "Everyone, turn off your lights. Turn off your lights." So they turn off their lights
because they had that saying. It was like in darkness.
Yeah, it was
seek the light where darkness is.
It felt like the Green Lantern oath. It was like brightest light and darkest night. It was very Green Lantern feeling. So they all turn off the light and they look at the puddle of water and there's light. So they swim under that and they get to this room with what looks like a prison cell with a bunch of gold and jewels behind it, and this cool wall with like Egyptian symbolism. And all the guys not the Toupe, Papillon and them.
They start freaking out because there's the gold, and they made that agreement where they would go there if they got half the treasure.
So they take their bags off.
They start messing with the door, but the whole scene is focused on Scarlet, where she's
and George.
Scarlet and George, They're looking at this wall, and they tell that ancient tale that it's kind of very different.
It's incorrect. So they say that there's the sky god and the sun god and the earth god and their son is the sun. No, Gaia is Greek.
Okay, but they were like doing like several different.
No, yeah. Well, but she was saying it was an Egyptian thing. That's why I said there was an issue with that. And basically, she was talking about the sun and the Philosopher's Stone, which you find out later isn't the true Philosopher's Stone. Was the sun, and where are you going to hide it? Right next to treasure, which turns out to be a trap. Well, we'll get to that in 2 seconds.
Treasure's always a trap.
So she says it's like some birth story, and every day was born.
Dude, you know what we completely forgot?
What?
The really cool scene where they come into that dead end with the fucking pillar. Where it shows the vulture where he's pointing towards where they need to go.
It's such a good scene.
And they used an ancient Egyptian method, which was what do they call that?
Basically,
hinge.
Well, it was basically like an ancient Egyptian like lock trap. So basically, they needed to move the right rock.
And they found out it had something to do with like the planets. But they couldn't do the 8 planets because they had to remember like
2 hadn't been found yet, but it was before a certain time. So Earth,
Cornelius is what they said.
Copernicus.
That's what it is.
Earth was everything revolved around Earth. So the magic number was 7. They moved the 7th one,
and the wall started shaking, but this little hole in the wall moved, and this Indiana Jones fucking ball just goes rolling. It got so excited.
Oh.
Yeah,
No. You said it, and all I could think about was Indiana Jones, the big boulder. I was like, I remember them being chased by a boulder.
Little boulder.
No, yeah. Kind of
And
like Skyrim with the dragon keys.
That's how they got in the tome.
Yeah. Anywho, so but the story was like it's born and they chase the sun or something. It didn't make sense. Actual Egyptian mythology, Ra chases the snake, and the snake is the sun, and he chases it across the sky and then kills it. And then every day it's reborn, and he has to chase the snake, and that's the actual one.
Yeah, they had something in there about their feet and their toes.
Yeah, feet and hands.
Touching on it at one point.
It was a nice story, but
it was definitely not like the mythology from it. But
anyway,
the thing starts crashing down because they were fucking.
They broke into the treasure, and of course, the treasure is supposed to be a distraction. You want the treasure. Philosopher's Stone's here. But it's also a trap. You want the treasure, we're going to kill you.
She had grabbed the stone, and they try to go through this hole in the wall again? Was it
well, no, the rocks dropped, broke the, what's her name? Suxi? Breaks her arm, and, it's open, it's bleeding, and Scarlet takes the Philosopher's Stone and a rock.
Mind you, at this time, whenever all that stuff dropped, it dropped on all their equipment. They have no water, no food, no first aid kits, no nothing. So they're trying to fix her arm, and she comes over with the bag, and she's like, I don't have anything to help her. And then she goes in and she grabs a stone, and she puts it on her arm, and she goes, "This is gonna
shaving rocks on it."
She shaves a little bit of it off onto her arm and holds it like this, and then all of a sudden you just start seeing it like dissolve, and her arm is completely fixed.
And so then
Deus Ex Machina.
So once again, for the second time, they're kind of trapped. So they go through this hole. And when they all slide through the hole,
yeah, that was the H.R. Geiger hole.
Yeah,
the one that looked like that alien vagina.
Yeah, so they go through the hole, and then literally Papillon is like the last one through the hole, and Papillon starts hitting the hole because the hole is now a wall.
Because they come back out and they're in the same exact room with the treasure, but there's nothing in it.
It's all reversed, like it's upside down.
Because they were looking
at
that
Silent Hill.
Yeah,
there was a hole here. Now it's gone.
Shut the fuck up. There was a mural on the wall that was the alchemic symbol for, and she explained
As above, so below.
They said the movie title, which is that makes it a good movie no matter what if they say this.
I am Superman 4: Dawn of Justice. But anyway, so
she had read that earlier, and she explains all of the stuff for it. But whenever they go through that hole, now it's upside down instead.
So they get in there, and if they don't focus on it, but Nicholas Flamel is now like a skeleton.
Yeah, he's
and he doesn't have his Templar. None of the crosses are there, and you see Datu off in a corner, just sitting there,
but and he's despondent now.
And he's kind of snarling and wheezing, and so Suxi goes up to him to try to
don't mess with him.
She tries to get his attention, tries to talk to him, and he just literally jumps, grabs her, and starts slamming her head into the ground like NBA Jam. It was crazy, dude. It was. He jumps and just boom, boom.
He does.
And so she's dead. Boom. First.
Oh, they try to bring her. He's like,
First
bring her back.
And the stone doesn't work
use
on
stone
dead.
on dead people.
So that's when things are starting to get weird. So they run through the tunnel, which is a mirror of the last tunnel they were in.
And they have to go down another hole.
They gotta go down another hole. So everyone's going down the hole. And Benji's the last one. He hears a baby crying, and he sees a woman holding a baby push him. And so then it cuts to everyone down there, and you just see, Benji's dead.
Yeah, he slams face first in the ground. He's dead as fuck. So I don't know if you wanted to start talking about symbolism as far as it goes now. We're going to do that later.
A little later. I want to get the overview and then break it down a little better. So then they're all running. It's just Zed, George, Scarlet, and Papillon. Yeah.
Yes.
So they're kind of running. They're freaked out. They're trying to get the hell out of there. And they turn this corner.
Sea of fire.
Yeah, you see fire. There's no smoke, but you see fire. And as they get close to it, there's a car. And that kid from earlier that was telling him, go find Papillon.
And Papillon's the one that's walking towards this the whole time.
You see that kid, and he's just sitting there, and he turns, and Papillon says, once in English, it wasn't my fault. And then he's speaking in French, he's screaming in French as it's...
And he's getting sucked towards the
ground. Like it's pulling him towards, there's nothing grabbing him, there's no one pushing him, but he's like...
No, that kid comes out and grabs him.
No, but in the beginning, you're seeing like this, like he's being force-pulled, and then the kid gets out, grabs him, pulls him in, and the whole car...
Poltergeist.
Yeah, poltergeist, and then you just see his legs sticking out.
2 feet.
And he was 2 feet deep in the ground. Only 2 feet.
But that's symbolism. So.
And so they started running away from that once again, and they start seeing this like kind of hooded figure with a white face and smoke, and he's basically an allegory for Satan, but like a more Gregorian take on him.
If you would explain that.
No, it's...
We'll do the last bit of symbolism.
Yeah. That's more of a... I'm just saying, it was Satan, but, you know, it's not big devil horns and goat legs. And so they're running, and they're trying to hide from him. Like, they see him sitting in a chair, and they see him get up, and you see the smoke come.
You're walking past the walls, and then there's faces in the walls.
Faces on the walls, and then, so Satan turns at them, and they back up against the wall, and then the walls come out and attack them.
Like, they turn into, like, these stone figure dudes that look like Baraka from freaking...
They reminded me of the pygmies, like, facially, not size, from the Mummy 2. Like, facially, though, when the pygmies are, like, sleeping, and then they scream at that one guy, it was that same kind of terror, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And one bites George's neck.
Yeah, it takes a chunk
So,
out of his neck.
Zed and Scarlet pull him away, and then Scarlet's trying to get him with the stone, trying to heal him with the stone.
It doesn't work.
And he's muttering this stuff in Latin.
What?
Dude, it's 7 words all in Latin. I don't remember it.
It basically is the basis by how all alchemists live. It was this one, like, word that has meanings for each one of it in Latin.
So she realizes she has to return the stone. She effed up, she took the stone, so basically it's not the right stone. So she's running through, climbs up the rope. I don't know how she did that. Like,
he basically was
that was a far drop.
That she needed to take the stone back, or else to fix everything, to reconcile.
So she climbs up, and in the Bizarro World tunnel with the water's turned into blood, and there's hands, and she falls, and it looks like a scene from The Descent. I almost said Beast Below. That's not out yet. The Descent, which she's covered in the blood, and she's running, and she puts the stone back in, and she's like, okay, where's the Philosopher's Stone? And she wipes the mirror, and basically, the Philosopher's Stone is achieving enlightenment, so she's enlightened, so now she has the powers of the Philosopher's Stone, she can heal, basically. So she runs all the way back, knocks one of those stone things right in the face, puts her hands on his neck, gives him a kiss, it heals him.
Yeah, it brings him back.
So he's up, Zed's up, she's up, they start running, they go down another tunnel, and then there's nothing but this disc. And they're trying to pull it up and wedge it up, and they can't, and they accidentally push it.
And they go, Rip!
And so they start pushing it, and you see the light coming through, and as they push it more, you can see a tree. And they're super confused, like they stick a hand up,
because
like,
it's like going backwards, because they were trying to pry it, and nothing was happening.
And so they realize that, like,
it's upside down.
So they go through, and there's this really cool scene. They throw the camera, they throw a bag, and you see the girl come out, and you see her feet come out, and she's hanging upside down, and you see her put her arms out like she's trying to lift herself up, but also down. Like, it was
great camera work.
Really well done. She gets out, her and George kind of hold each other for a minute, and Zed literally is just
He's like,
he walks away. He's like, I'm going home.
Bye.
I'm going home.
Oh yeah, you forgot to. Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. All of their
the symbolism.
reconciliations. We should probably do that right now. Basically, long story short, like Zed, George, and Scarlett were the only people that made it out.
So everyone kind of had a trial in a sense because this is hell of something that they need to
Reconcile.
For Papillon, he. In the beginning of the movie, almost, they talk about there's this little scar in his hand. They're like, "Hey, how did Papillon get the scar?" And Zed's like, "Oh, we don't talk about that." And so Papillon, his friend burned in a car, and he couldn't save him, but he didn't.
Was that his brother? I thought that was his brother.
They never explained who exactly that was.
Yeah, but it was the same kid.
But he wouldn't.
They saw that told him.
Yeah, he wouldn't accept it. He wouldn't accept it, and that's why he died. He went to hell. He's dead.
If you reconcile, you could live, but if you didn't reconcile, you die.
Suxi had murdered someone. It's very, very vague, but she had murdered someone. That's why she gets slam dunked into concrete. And then Benji had
a wife and a kid.
And he had inadvertently, he didn't murder them.
He caused their death.
Yeah, their death was kind of caused by him. So that's why he also gets murdered.
Zed
had a child, but he knows he has a child, but he denies it.
That's the kid that they saw earlier, and he kind of, whenever they were about to leave, whenever they were going to go down the tunnel to get out, they all looked at each other, and that's whenever she made George be like, I know you blame yourself for your brother, but it's okay.
Yeah, he had to accept that his brother drowned.
And then Zed had to accept that he has a kid, and then he has to accept
Scarlett, her father...
The phone ringing earlier was her...
In the very beginning, when they leave the statue all the way in Iran, she sees her dad hanging.
Yeah.
She doesn't. We don't know that it's her dad. She doesn't say anything. Then later, the phone ringing. She picks it up. It's her dad. She hangs it up. Later, she is going through, and you just see a noose. And then she turns back, and she turns away. Boom, noose is gone. And then when she's running back, she sees her dad hanging, but with a cloth over his head. She takes the cloth off. It's her, and she's laughing at her. After she had wiped the mirror and gained her internal acceptance,
clarity,
she found her dad hanging, and she hugged him and she cried. She's like, "I'm sorry I didn't answer the phone that night. I didn't know you were in so much pain." And so that was her acceptance. That's why they got out. They accepted what they had done wrong, and I thought that was great. It was very good. The symbolism was really good. I mean, there's things that I wish they did expand a little more, especially Benji and Suxi, kind of had to figure it out on your own. There wasn't subtle hints, but it was really good symbolism, very good, well done payoffs. He has a little burn on his hand. That's a pay. It pays off. There's nothing in there really that's just oh yeah, he's got this huge scar on his face. We don't talk about it, and then nothing. Everything that was kind of put in play had a purpose, which is really good.
Okay, so is there anything that you liked in personal about this movie?
That's what I was just going over right there.
That was it?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I loved all the symbolism. This movie was great and everything. It was well put, well filmed, well documented. All the stuff was pretty much accurate to its stuff, but the symbolism was my favorite part. I don't know if that's just because I'm some sort of edgy kid, but I just really loved the symbolism in this movie, and that was the coolest thing for me, was the alchemy stuff, which you don't see very many movies nowadays dealing with, alchemy and stuff, outside of, hyper...
Japan, Full Metal Alchemist.
Shut up. Outside of, super satanic crap, which is something that they kind of, mix up a lot.
Something else that was really good is it's very easy to mess up found footage films. It's very easy to mishandle this. This one did really good treatment of it.
Yeah, the camera wasn't super shaky, which was great, because I sometimes, in Cloverfield, whenever I was originally watching that, I couldn't watch. Some scenes were fucking too shaky for me.
The camera was realistically shaky. It shook when it needed to, but it wasn't oh, I'm terrified. It was oh, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm still holding something. I'm not jiggle bone arm like Gary's mod. Anything you would change?
Me? I think it was a pretty solid movie, but I wish...
Susie was 2 inches taller?
Shut the fuck up. No, I wish that they would have explained certain things in more detail whenever it came towards, the lore and all of the stuff. It seemed like it was really rushed.
Like
They only explained something if it pertained to them literally in a life or death situation.
It feels like you jumped into the universe and then jumped out. It's not a world that you...
It's like, here's some spooky shit. Okay, here's some magic and creepy stuff. Here's how we get out of this room. Back to spooky shit. Back to, symbolism. What is this about? We have no idea what this is about. Oh, there's Satan. Hi, Satan. How are you doing?
Yeah.
You don't need to get out of your chair, Satan. It's okay. Stuff like that. That's the only thing that would have changed. Like, I understand the movie was already like an hour and 30 minutes already, but like even another like 15 minutes
just
of them
to fit in a little more. Like I said about Suxi and Benji.
That's just me wanting like a movie like Indiana Jones, like The Mummy. They did it in such a beautiful way where they explained everything before it happened. Like, we learned about the Book of the Dead
And
before all this stuff. And they did, like, little flashbacks in that where they showed, like, the past and stuff that happened.
You can't really do flashbacks in found footage.
I get it. Like, I get it. I know. But I'm just a nerd, and I really want to know some cool stuff. But anything you would have changed?
You said basically everything I wanted changed.
Okay. Anything that you disliked?
I thought that's what the changing was.
The changing.
Well, yeah. Like, well, I just like this. I would change it. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, if there was something I disliked that I wouldn't know how to fix, it is. No. Yeah. Like a lot of what was wrong could have been changed. You know, just slightly, just like 15 minutes more of airtime. But there wasn't anything that was just like, this is bad. I don't like it at all.
I would have liked a little bit more catharsis at the end, like a little bit more of a exodus, if you would, like not exodus, like
Zed goes to see the kid. Says he's gonna go see the kid.
I would like to see what happened to them afterwards, because at the very end they show the piece of the interview from the very beginning.
Yeah. Like,
and I was like, I get it.
You see,
leave you on a cliffhanger. A lot of movies.
George and Scarlett hugging, and Zed. They speak no words to each other. Zed just starts walking off into the night, and it does feel a little like, okay, they're alive, but there's no closure. I don't know if that was in the intent of maybe making a sequel. Don't know how they would. They kind of really told the story, but you know,
I don't think you'd ever get them back in the hole. But then again, Descent 2.
Descent 2, Jurassic Park 2, Jurassic Park 3, you know, how many times can we get someone on an island in a hole and back on the planet full of face-hugging aliens?
But anyway, as in a little closer here to wrap things up, we have a rating that we had to go on. I said 8, he said 8.5. So
8.5 to 9, like out of 10. So yeah, 8.5 bones out of 10.
Yeah,
maybe femurs.
Yep, no, solid movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Would recommend.
It is on Netflix, if you have Netflix.
If you're claustrophobic, that is some of the greatest stress from it.
If you're claustrophobic, it's not as bad as The Descent.
Yeah.
I'll put it
there. But all in all, good movie. Would recommend it. Even if you're claustrophobic, just fair warning.
Yeah.
And thanks for sitting and listening to us. See you next time.